Hi guys, welcome back to the HUBient Talent channel. This is Stella Bella. Now recently, because of the global pandemic and obviously a lot of things have been happening with the economy, times have been a little bit tougher and we are getting a little bit more worried and anxious about the present as well as what the future may hold. But there are a few things that we might be doing that is sabotaging our own happiness that we might not be aware of. And even though things are a little bit tougher right now, we can still find peace, contentment, and happiness as long as we stay mindful and we allow ourselves to do that. So today I'm going to be talking about the 5 things that we might be doing that's sabotaging our own happiness. And hopefully I'll be able to help you to find the inner peace and happiness that you're all searching for. Number one of the top things that we are probably doing right now, and we are all guilty of it at some point in our lives, is not being grateful for what you have and always focusing on the things that you don't have. Now, as humans, we're kind of built to always be striving for something more, something better than what we currently have. If our goal is to earn $50,000 a year, when we achieve that, we always want 55, 60, 70, 80, 100. And it's great to have goals, but while we're striving for those goals, it's really easy to get caught up in the things that we don't have. Caught up in the fight and the race to get to where we want to be as soon as possible, rather than looking back and thinking about all the things that we've achieved and being grateful for that, or being grateful for the things that we already have in our lives and how happy we should be with our existing achievements and possessions. So one thing that I strongly recommend everybody to do is to spend 5-10 minutes at the end of every single day, all the things that they've achieved in the day. Even if it's something small and simple, write it down at the end of the day just to show yourself what you've actually done. And every morning when you wake up, spend 5-10 minutes to write down the things that you're grateful for and things that you truly mean. Try not to repeat yourself every single day. I mean, obviously there's a lot of things that we're grateful for every single day, but try to think of new things that you're grateful for, because there are a lot of things in your life right now that you have already worked really hard to achieve. But the fact that you're probably forgetting about all of that, as soon as you achieve that, you go straight on to striving for the next thing. You haven't really spent the time to celebrate what you have or what you've achieved already. And that's a real shame, because you have worked hard to achieve those things. And now that you have it, you should spend a little bit of time being grateful for it. At least be mindful of the fact that you have these things in your life to be grateful for before you move on to the next thing. Number 2, over dramatizing a situation or an issue, or always thinking of the worst case scenario. So I'm a little bit guilty of this. Whenever I come across a problem, I tend to immediately go for the, oh my goodness, it's the end of the world, what am I going to do response straight away. And I actually have to pull myself back, calm down for a second, maybe do a little bit of a breathing exercise even, just so I can think about the issue that I'm currently dealing with and what actually is a realistic outcome of that. A lot of us tend to go straight for the worst case scenario, or making the situation a lot bigger than it actually is. When really what we should be doing is focusing on finding a solution for our problems rather than making it worse with our emotions and our impulsiveness. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes you actually have to look at the bigger picture and think about what is the worst case scenario and come up with a solution for that. But immediately going for the worst case scenario when there's a 0.001% chance of it happening, and making yourself more anxious, more scared, more worried, more emotional because of it, it really doesn't help the situation. It only makes things worse, and it means that we don't have a clear enough mind to think of a solution for ourselves. If you come across an issue, the most important thing to do is to take a deep breath, calm down, and try to view everything objectively. I know it's easier said than done, but it's really important not to get too caught up in the emotion and the immediate reaction that you're going to get when you're faced with a problem. There is always a solution to everything, and it's important that you have a clear mind while you're trying to figure out what that solution is. Be realistic when you're analyzing your problem. Only think about the worst case scenario if there is a strong chance of it happening. Also think of the solution that you'll have ready if that worst case scenario was to happen. If you did that, then you'll probably realize that with a solution in mind already, even if the worst case scenario happened, it's not the end of the world. And you won't have to worry so much and be so anxious about what might happen, because you've already got some backup plans in place to help you if that was the case. Number 3, worrying about the things that we can't change. When things happen around us that we are not happy about, or it's not something that we expected or wanted, we immediately start overthinking, we start worrying about it, and we just constantly spend our time focusing on this thing that we absolutely can't change. Instead, what you should be doing is think of solutions that will help you deal with the outcome of this thing that you can't change. For example, global pandemic, that is something that we have no power over. But I know a lot of us are worried about it. It keeps us up at night because we don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. We don't know what's gonna happen 3 weeks, 4 weeks, even a year from now. But we spend a lot of our time worrying about it and worrying about maybe our business, our jobs, our livelihood, sense of freedom, our health, our family's health. If it's something that you can't change and you know you have to be faced with it regardless, then think of other ways to manage and deal with it. For example, if you know that you're going to be faced with a global pandemic and you're worried about the health of your loved ones, think of ways to mitigate their risk and try to keep them out of harm's way as much as you can. Whether it's educating them more on how to be more hygienic, how to deal with crowds, how to go out and be safe at the same time. There are a lot of things that are out of our control, but there are things that we can do to minimize the risk. By the end of the day, it's really not worth worrying about things that we have no control over. And instead, focus your time and efforts on the things you do have control over, the things that you can do to help the current situation, to mitigate the risks, and for things that you yourself can action to make the situation a little bit better. Number 4, spending too much time focusing on the past instead of the present or future. Now, the past has already happened, and we can use that as a learning experience. So it is important to remember it and think back on it every once in a while to see what lessons we have actually learned from there. Definitely important not to forget about the past, because if you forget about the past, you may have to relive it all over again and make the same mistakes, which we definitely don't want. So it's important to actually think back on the past and think about the lessons that you've learned from the things that you've already done. But don't spend too much time focusing on it, and don't spend too much time thinking about the things that you could have changed with the past or what could have been had you acted differently, because it's in the past now. And like point number 3, it's something that we can't change. All that we can change is what we are doing right now in the present and what we plan on doing in the future. So instead of thinking about the past and focusing too much time on the things that you can't change, think about the present, how you can act right now to make things different from the way they were. If you had some regrets from the past, that's always wearing on your mind. Instead of feeling that regret and thinking about it all the time, think about the things you can do right now to make sure you don't have another one of the same regret. How can you make up for that certain regret? How can you make up for the people that you may have hurt because of that regret? And moving forward in future, what are the things that you can do to ensure you don't have that same regret again, that you've actually learnt your lesson? These are all the things that, instead of sitting here thinking about the past and being sad about it, actually looking forward into the future and thinking about how you can reach your goals, how you can change your life for the better, will actually make you a lot happier, or at least help you find a little bit of that inner peace. Instead of living with guilt and regret and remorse, you are now living with hope and positivity, and with a plan of how you can change things in your future for the better and become the person that you actually want to be. Point number 5, last but not least, and this is a very important point. Happiness is something that you have to work towards for yourself and by yourself. A lot of people tend to rely on other people to give them the peace, satisfaction, the calmness that they wish for in life. But it's important to understand that nobody else in the world can make you happy apart from yourself. Even if you feel that somebody else can give you the happiness that you're after, it is only because you yourself are opening that door for that person to give you that happiness. And you are telling yourself that this person plays an important role in the happiness in your life. But it's important not to put that responsibility onto somebody else, because that person may not be there. Materialistic things may not be there. The only thing that will be there with you 100% of the time is yourself. So you need to rely on yourself to make yourself happy. And that means searching for the things that give you that inner peace, give you contentment, searching for a job, a partner, hobby, a passion, a lifestyle that truly, honestly makes you happy. And if nobody else existed in your life and you were to live alone by yourself, and worst case scenario, if that was to happen, what would make you happy? What could you fill your life with that is truly you, 100%, that you'll still find contentment and peace in? Because relying on other people for your happiness is a terrible idea. If that person disappears, or if that person no longer wants to make you happy, then what's going to happen? You're going to be miserable, right? If you rely on materialistic things to make you happy, what's going to happen if you can no longer afford those things, or if those things no longer exist? So it's important to understand what truly makes you happy, that you have control over, that you can actually provide for yourself. And even if you spend the rest of your life with that one special person, each of you need to find your own path to happiness, and 2 happy people together will create a beautiful relationship, rather than 2 not so happy people together trying to rely on each other for that happiness. Thank you so much for listening today, guys. I really appreciate it, and I really hope today's information has helped you somewhat. Happiness, like I said, is entirely subjective. So today's opinions were completely my own and things that I found actually helped me achieve my own sense of inner peace and contentment in the past. So hopefully it's helped you as well. And if you've got any comments at all, questions, please make sure to comment down below and make sure to hit subscribe, like, follow on our channels. We're on social media everywhere. HUBient Talents, HUBient Agency, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Just follow us, and not only myself, but my beautiful colleagues will have some wonderful content for you. And please make sure to follow my social media as well. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook under stellabella.au, and I would love to hear from you there. Until next week, I hope you all have a wonderful, happy week and you find your own inner peace and contentment, and I'll see you next time. Bye.